All right. So, how's the Spotlight series going?
The Spotlight series is good. We have spoken to a few folks, which has been really interesting. And coming up, we're about to release a series about Alaska, oh gosh, Anchorage Sports Association. And then soon I'm going to be talking to Van and Nikki of Van's Dive Bar and a bunch of other small businesses.
Right, and it occurs to me Van is also involved in a highly successful restaurant in town.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's good. And by the way, I love the podcast that you guys have done. It's great to hear old school Alaska stories. You know, the last bit you guys did about the Kobuk had references to Tent City. The first bit with Jose Martignon had, this is the story of a guy who I knew when I was growing up, and he worked at the Top of the World. If some of the people remember that restaurant, I think it was at the top of the Hilton. And he's really sort of doing an amazing job realizing the American dream that so many of us want to realize. So,
Yeah.
great stories.
Thank you.
And if you don't mind, I'll grab my microphone back and do a podcast. Is that okay?
I mean, sure. Yeah, that's fine.
So I talked to the people of Remade.
Who's Remade?
So this is a good question. It's a fascinating place. It's the former AvTech Center out on Old Seward. And if you were going to boil these folks down into a nutshell, which you kind of can't do, but if you were going to give them their Twitter pitch, it's, we repurpose materials and sell them, ranging from lamps to furniture to clothing. We take items that are going to be discarded and sell it. But it's bigger than that. And so it's almost like that business model is a platform for doing other things, from training on entrepreneurship to allowing people to work together and live life better together, to allowing people who have just gotten over the loss of a loved one to come in and work in this nonprofit, to use a commercial kitchen. So it's a really fascinating sort of multi-layered place. And I was just kind of blown away by it. I'd never been in, and they reached out to me, so I went and we talked.
Wow. And what did you learn about them? You mentioned a triple bottom line. Explain that again.
Right. So this is a concept that isn't new. It's 10 or 15 years old, probably older than that. But the idea behind a triple bottom line business is that you have more than your financial bottom line. Financial bottom line is absolutely important, vital. Every business needs it. These guys are a business too. They're a nonprofit business, but they are cash flow positive and they're paying their mortgage, and they even have a little, barely, but a little extra. The other bottom lines, though, of a triple bottom line business are, one, what is the social impact to your community? So obviously there's a social impact if their mission is living life better together. And the environmental impact is the third bottom line. And of course, if they are collecting materials at the Anchorage transfer station, preventing it from going into the landfill, there's obviously an environmental impact there too. And there's not a lot of these businesses out there. Triple bottom line is really hard to achieve. Usually you can find maybe a double bottom line. And of course, most businesses focus on the financial bottom line.
Is it kind of like the triangle that you pick to, like, satisfied in your work, beautiful, and what is the other? Do you know what triangle I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
It's not at all like that. I was just comparing something to three things and three other things.
No, I mean, I think that there's trade-offs, right? And that's what those models talk about, right? You can have it fast, you can have it cheap, or you can have it good, but you can have two of the three, but not all three. This is slightly different.
Yeah.
I think that you can't pigeonhole every business into being an environmentally positive impact business, but you can usually find a social impact and care about it. And of course, you always need to have a financial impact. Otherwise, you're not cash flow positive and you're not going to be able to pay your bills. And it's a pretty short discussion.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Cool. So I'm going to rock the podcast for this week. And a couple other notes. We are going to get back to venture and growth and higher growth businesses in April. A couple things are coming up. One, we're going to have the new cohorts of Launch Alaska on the podcast. So there's 4 new teams that are in Anchorage working on exciting energy companies, and we hope to have them on the podcast in April.
Definitely.
And then we might we might record an entrepreneurial panel or an investor panel as time and availability allows. So those things are coming up. We are going to take a hard turn back into venture and scaling and growth and investment. But in the meantime, keep enjoying the Spotlight series, keep enjoying great Alaska stories from the Urban Fellows, and I hope you enjoy this discussion from Remade. Welcome to the 49 SAF Pod. Joe Morrison here, interviewing Patty and Jill with Remade. Patty, your last name, please?
Beist.
And Jill?
Canute.
All right, I have a question. What is this place?
We're an upcycling, repurposing, creative collaboration space, working to not only rescue things that are going into the landfill, but also work with other people to provide a better life for them. Our mission statement is really simple.
Doing life better together.
Why did you found this place, Patty? Why build this?
It kind of came from the idea of trying to raise funds for nonprofits, and that's kind of where it all started. My mom is a big volunteer, and so when she came up to visit, she was looking for a place to give her time, do something good for the community. We ended up just saying we want to do this bigger, and it just kind of blew up from there. We got together, we just started creating things, and today we're here.
And here is where?
We're at 13500 Old Seward Highway. A lot of people are familiar with this building. It used to be the Labor and Trade Union
Training center.
Training Center. And we have 17,000 square feet of space here. And we've had our doors open for about a year and a half.
So people drop off donations, bringing in items that we can repurpose, wood furniture, cool old things, retro things, whatever. And we take those items. If they're sellable, they go on the floor. If they're needing to be repurposed, we totally transform them by painting them, remaking them to something totally different, and putting it on the floor and selling it.
So your mom wanted to volunteer when she was in town. You guys were doing that. You decided you wanted a bigger vision, so you started Remade. And how did you go from that concept, which is small, to 17,000 square feet of space?
Some of the first products that got created were repurposing items that were easy to get. So jeans were turned into stuffed plushed items, whales, jeans that were made into salmon, and lots of fabric was being cut apart. So sweaters were being upcycled into garlands and plushed pumpkins and things like that. So there was space loaned to us by bake shop here in South Anchorage, 12100, and they let us use a space in their building for about a year, and people would meet one day a week and do some repurposing there, and then those items originally started being sold at craft fairs.
We did the downtown market for the first summer, and we did some craft shows around Christmas time, and then we got a feeling like it was going to take off, and so we bit the bullet and started renting this space. A portion of this space, when we now have the whole building, but we had a portion of this space.
So you guys are all volunteer run. You repurpose items from furniture to clothing and sell it. How many volunteer/entrepreneurs are working here?
We probably have around 40, and that's all different levels. Some people they come in 1 or 2 days, maybe a month, maybe every 6 months. And then we have some people who come in every day. We have some people who come in once a week. So it varies.
And you're here 40 hours a week.
Jill and I are both here 40 hours a week.
And you don't get paid.
We don't get paid.
But you do sell things.
We do sell things. And so Jill and I repurpose things. And so we make some income from that. So that works for us. We love our perfect person who comes and volunteers doesn't have to have any skill set at all. They can just come in and they can do anything from sorting to sewing to painting to organizing, just anything that they like to do. They can do computer work. They can do all kinds of things.
And why do they do that? Why do they come in?
People like to give back.
One of the things that is a common perspective around here, Phil Wright is someone that's been on board since the beginning, about 3 years ago when we started. And he says the really neat thing about Remade is everyone that volunteers wants to be here. And so it's a fun environment, and everyone has fun when they're here. And when they stop having fun, they go home. And it's actually, people come that have no idea what to expect, and they're stressed out, and they don't know why they came, and someone drugged them in here. And they have an amazing time, and then they end up coming back the next couple of days, and they're like, I want to come back and help. Or we have people that walk through the retail space and they see what we've done and they're like, this is the coolest place I've ever been to. I have to tell everybody I know. And so we're just word of mouth getting marketing out, but it's a super fun place to be. And because we're all volunteers, usually everyone's having a good time when they're here.
And so why do you do it?
I will just speak for Patty and myself. We both really believe on a moral level that it actually is better to do life together. And so this is an extension of how people can do that. And everyone needs someone. And there's a lot of people that have a hard time through the winter especially. You know, it's dark here, it's depressing here, their life might be sideways at home, and this is a place they can come and they can have a really good time. There's no threats, and they can build a friendship. And, you know, we try to learn people's names and call them by name. Sometimes we don't remember everyone's names, but when people come in, we greet them. It's a happy place to be. There's no pressure of you didn't produce enough of something, or your report didn't look just right, or your essay was not long enough. There's that whole stressor component doesn't exist here. And the biggest piece for myself is the building relationship. I love people, all kinds of weird, wonderful, amazing people. And this is an opportunity to meet people. And a lot of the people that come, they are the same way. They want a new friend. They may be like, we were talking about the hospice people. They might have lost their spouse and they're trying to establish a new norm for their life. And they come here and they're like, hey, there's these 4 or 5 other people that are going through the exact same thing they're going through, and they have someone they can relate to. So I think that's the biggest part of it.
I'm trying to think if I've ever recorded another nonprofit for this podcast. I don't think so, because this podcast is about entrepreneurship. But there's entrepreneurship all over this bohemian enclave.
Oh, yeah.
Which, you know, we'll look up bohemian later.
That's a very big word.
It's a big word. It's Central Europe, I'm told. But talk about how you and Remade intersect with entrepreneurship and why it's important and why this is entrepreneurial.
Probably the biggest thing is we have a huge desire to help startups get started. So I'll use an example. We have someone who runs our coffee bar, and we have a commercial kitchen here, so we utilize that skill set as well. But we have somebody who, she'd always wanted to have her own baking business. She was overwhelmed by all of the things that means. There's just so much licensing. There's so many things you've got to get in order. Balancing a checkbook, figuring out how to do finances, figuring out all of the supplies, all that. So she came here. We worked with her in a short order, and we said, just take it slow. We already have the building. We already have the kitchen. Just do one thing. So she started making these amazing cookies that are cowboy cookies that are people come from all over to get. She started with that. And so it was a simple one-item thing that she started with, and then she started doing lunches, and then she started doing cakes, and then she, you know, so it just kept growing. We have artists the same way. We've designed their logo. We get them started. We figure out, how do you market this? How do you make something and do it in the right color combinations that it's going to sell? The right price point so it will sell. The right quantity. If you have one thing, it doesn't sell. If you have 3 things, 5 things, 7 things, then it sells. So we just help them with all those little tips and tricks on how to get going, and it seems to be a good fit.
One of the really cool things that we are hoping continues to grow is the collaboration piece. And so artists, you know, as a whole, we tend to be kind of weirdos.
So what you're saying is you're a weirdo.
Well, I'm a major weirdo. And weirdos seem to attract weirdos, but they want to know what the other person thinks, even though they're going to do what they want with an item. And so it's a safe place to run your idea by someone else that might actually have a beneficial idea, how to make your product better that you want to sell. And there's no threat because no one's getting paid to tell you what they think. It's just, hey, this is kind of what I think. That looks really bad. You should not sell that. Or it might be, I think that has a little bit too much fussiness. You could like calm that down just a little bit and maybe somebody would buy it. And so we're hoping that as we continue to move forward in the future, we have more and more artists that want to come here that feel like this is a safe place to just say, hey, what does someone think about this? The other really awesome thing we have for business is we're doing small business startup training, which is free workshops. And our next session of 10 weeks, the start of for that is the 27th of March. So if anyone's interested in that, it's a free training on Tuesdays. The website is chdtraining.org. People can go on there and fill out an application and find out about that.
What does CHD stand for?
Center for Human Development, and that's a division of UAA Anchorage, Alaska.
And we have a grant with them, so we're partnering with them to do this training.
See, I don't think anybody knows that you guys are offering entrepreneurial training out here almost at the end of the Old Seward Highway. How many people are signed up for this training this time?
We're able to have 25 people in the class.
They can find that at chdtraining.org.
That's right.
All right. What other kinds of businesses do you guys have operating out of here? You've got food businesses using the commercial kitchen. You've got artists who are repurposing materials and selling their materials. What other kinds of entrepreneurs are working out of here?
So what we have is a space that's a cafe, a gathering area. So we're looking for people that are interested in having commercial, that want to have a commercial business of some kind that need kitchen space. So we have that opportunity. We also have a conference room that seats 12 comfortably with a beautiful view of the mountains. And so if someone wants to have a business meeting, that's by donation. That room is available for that. We also have a rental room, which is stocked full of all kinds of items for people that want to plan an event and don't want to have to figure out what to do with all their chargers and stackable glassware when they're done, or punch bowl. And so we have all kinds of things in the rental room that can be used for a special occasion. People that are planning their wedding or getting ready for prom or graduation, all of that's available. And it's basically 10 cents on the dollar. So if it's a $40 item, it's a $4 rental. And we have genres from vintage, old, to classy, upscale, and everywhere in between.
You guys work with a lot of different communities. And, we'll just start with a couple of them, and I'll ask you, how do you work with this community? You can tell me about it. So how do you work with the municipality of Anchorage, for example? What do you do for/with the city?
We have a grant with the solid waste service over at the transfer station on 56th. We have a actual hub there so that we take in donations there. On Tuesday and Saturday, we have staffing over there, and they collect items that people want to donate so it doesn't have to go into the landfill. It can be repurposed.
How do you guys work with the military?
We do a 10% discount day a week for military purchases.
Our volunteer who does our media, she's actually a military wife and mom. And so we've talked about doing some different connecting things. It just hasn't come to that point. We really need more volunteers, and so volunteers is a huge part of why things sometimes don't come to fruition as fast as we'd like it to. One of the things is we would love to do something when, right after a deployment, the women and the wives, I think they need more community. And so we would love to do some creative things where they can just come together, be creative, and have that time together. So with more volunteers, we would be able to do something like that.
One of the things that we're finding is business owners want to make donations to us. So we've had generous donations from different entities in town, and it's often in bulk. So David's Bridal donated to us garment liners. I want to say boxes of them that were clear vinyl liners that would go around a wedding dress. We've repurposed those as the inside liners to trash bags that we now make for cars. We received upwards of 30 pallets of cabinet door faces that we are repurposing that was donated by a cabinet company that was going out of business. So I think one of the things in educating our community is we're not just helping individuals, we're helping businesses that actually have quantity of items they don't know what to do with, and we're able to repurpose those. If it's an item we can't use or we get an abundance of them, then we're extending what we've received to other nonprofits. So last year we worked with 30 nonprofits here in Anchorage, and we're able to pass on things that were still functional instead of them having to go into the landfill. And we're continuing to broaden who we're working with. So if someone is part of an organization and want to partner with us, they need to let us, just contact us. We've spoken at the Rotary Club. We've gathered glasses for the Lions Club. We've worked with a lot of faith-based organizations with clothing, accessories, all kinds of items, kitchen items. We're working with Catholic Social Services to provide household goods for families they're placing in full-time housing. We're working with Clare House. We're hoping to be working with Priceless, and we've worked with Beacon Hill, CPC. I could go on and on, but if you know of an organization you'd like us to work with, just come and talk to us.
But you're not just a nonprofit, right? You're a business. Like you're cash flow positive. Basically, you make money every month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you've been making money. You're doing just fine. You're paying your mortgage. You have a little left over. And I guess I want to ask, like, do you see yourself as more than a nonprofit? Do you see yourselves as a business, and if so, what kind?
We see ourselves as a nonprofit, but we are really trying to be have an environmental impact, so that we're taking things that people are throwing away and we're doing something with them. A lot of what people learn, it's caught rather than taught. So a lot of times it's just, we'll have two people who are working upstairs, and it's a mentoring situation whether you set it up that way or not. Maybe they're learning how to sew, maybe they're learning how to paint, maybe they're just discussing. I have a teenage son, and he's giving me grief, and the other person's older and has been through that, and says it's a season, you'll get through this. So there's a lot of things that happen just shoulder to shoulder as you're working with people, and that's a really cool sideline of what is a benefit from here.
Back to the environmental impact, last year we were able to rescue about 13,000 pounds of items at the landfill, the Muni transfer station. If we had more volunteers, we could have more of a presence there, I believe.
Yeah.
We just don't have the volunteers to run that. So if there's, a youth group that would like to take a day at the Muni, or a guy's book club, or a ladies bingo club, or I don't know, if there's already clubs and you're trying to find some way to participate with a nonprofit, we have multiple ways people could participate with us.
Describe a little bit about what you do here every day in your job at Remade. So, Patty, you're the founder, you're the executive director.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do on a day-to-day basis here?
I do the finance. I do the connecting with other organizations on a level with Jill. We work through the volunteer issues and all of the different things that we're needing. We make plans for products and resources that we're getting in. We do pack outs, so sometimes it's communicating with somebody who has a whole house full of stuff that they need to donate. So we talk to them and figure that out. It's everything that happens, it's got to go through Jill or I. So it's a huge pile of it, all kinds of things.
Jill, day-to-day basis, what do you do and how's it different? Or is it different?
One of the biggest things I am doing is trying to connect with people in the network, or trying to network people in the community. And so anyone that has a nonprofit that wants to find out what we're doing, I'm making those connections. Spoke at the Rotary Club, a little bit the voice of what we're doing, because Patty is so taxed out, she doesn't have time to meet every obligation or request we have. In addition to that, assessing what do we have too much of, or a plethora of donations that we can redirect, and who should that go to. But then again, we're all volunteers, so I have to find a volunteer that can take, the 17 bags of whatever we just got donated that we have too much of, to whoever we can redonate those to. So all of that is a lot of logistics. I do a lot of logistics. Mm-hmm. We also teach classes here, and so I've been teaching some classes. Patty teaches classes. Those are almost always Thursday or Saturday. So you have to get ready for the class, you have to teach the class, you have to take down the class. There's just a lot of day-to-day things that happen. There's no projected, this is what your normal day is going to look like. And
Right.
we discovered every day you have to be really flexible because
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen.
So tell me about what kind of classes you have here.
We have everything from watercolor, furniture painting, sewing. We have some food classes. We did a sushi class, cookie making. So
Excel, goal setting, doTERRA. Around the holidays, we did some wreath classes. I'm teaching a floral design class. All kinds of things. Anything.
But also Microsoft Excel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and sushi.
and some map.
Sushi. Where can you go for sushi and Excel at the same time?
I don't know. This is why I say this place is pretty bohemian.
It's amazing.
So, final requests to the community. You need a volunteer coordinator 20 hours a week. What else do you need?
People that want to do sewing, we have items that we'd like to have recreated and have them on the store all the time, but we need people that could sew. Doesn't have to be here. We have a lady that works with Alaska Airlines. She's a flight attendant. She comes by and picks up fabric that gets donated, and she goes to whatever hotel she's in the night, and she cuts things apart and brings them back already completed. We need someone that can help with our coffee counter. We need a barista in the afternoon, almost every day of the week from 2 to 5. We also
Now,
need
that person's getting paid, right?
wrong.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Free cup of coffee per
Man,
shift.
I'm working on it. I'm figuring this thing out.
The nice part is I'll give you the example of the barista. If we had somebody who said, I would love to make a barbecue sauce or a salmon rub. I would love to make the spice mix for a salmon rub. What we would love to have happen is that person comes in and they get to make that product. We are a place they can sell it every day of the week. They work one day and the rest of the time is covered. They make the profit from their sale of their item.
And honestly, we would like volunteers that would be willing to give us an hour a year.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be tons of time. We just, if they want to come in for 1 hour and do the dusting for us, that'd be great. And, the next year they want to show up and they want to stock our toilet paper. So anything you think that you would normally do at your house, we have all those needs here, but on a much greater scale as well.
So, we'll close things out here. And I want to say thank you both so much for letting me interview you. Your place is so freaking cool. It's super unique, super interesting. But I'm going to start with Jill and then we'll finish with Patty. Jill, what's the mission of this place?
Doing life better together.
Patty, what does that mean, doing life better together?
It means coming together and learning. Everybody has something to learn and everybody has something to give. And so you might not think you do, but you do. So come and be a part of this creative community and we'll all do life better together.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Patty and Jill from Remade, we're calling it. And on the way to Costco, Patty is going to listen to the melodious sounds of Miley Cyrus, no doubt. That's it. Joe Morrison, 49 SAF Pod. Goodbye.
My word.
That may have been false representation. At the
I don't
end.
think there was any false representation. All right, that's it.